Looks like today is Wednesday, July 9th, 2025. I'm going to pull this copy of Unequivocal Malice out of my bag here. There it is, published 21 years ago. And I'm going to do call this Unequivocal Malice and After Dark, part 21. Yes, I'm interrupted by those calls all day long. I can't afford to buy anything, and I get 10 to 20 calls a day on a mobile phone. So anyway, there is Malice. This is going to be part 21. I put out After Dark in 2015 under my name, Michael Kajowski, and I put Unequivocal Malice out under a pseudonym, Michael Parker, in 2000 and December of 2004, but it spilled over into January of 2005. So I thought I would look just at one character today. I've never really done this in my two books. As I mentioned last time in part 20, I have some text in here in italics like that. So that indicates I might think, as the writer of it, that I might think that passage is more emotional or should stand out in some way or is more important. Here, this one says, Marsden formed a picture in his head, each tourist double-checking the time, every motorist impatiently pressing his foot on the gas pedal. This is in the italics section in the first prologue, before the first chapter, plowing down the highway at top speed, vans and sport utility 4x4s, passing in the left lane and passing in the right lane, rushing past the dull lives of lazy degenerates. Yes, I did actually publish that, the dull lives of lazy degenerates, prank phone calls, junk mail. So that's the kind of thing I wrote about in Unequivocal Malice. That is the inner mindset of one of the characters. Certainly not as elaborate as William Faulkner, who, got inside people's heads in such a way in his literary writings that he's usually described as one of the American classics in literature. This page here, by the way, looks kind of nice to me because it's got shorter paragraphs, probably more of a newspaper style, 1, 2 sentences, 3 sentences. So a younger reader would have an easier time picking out ideas on a page like that. Well, I did say originally my goal was I was going to look at the one character here in part 21 of Morehouse. And the reason I picked Morehouse, he's on the front. That's probably Morehouse. Since I did this through self-publishing, that's an artist came up with that. That looks like a photograph to me more than an artist's rendering. And since I didn't request it, that was what I paid for iUniverse.com. That's what I got. I guess they're trying to send me a message there at iUniverse. They think I might not do anything in publishing, or more likely, I might not do anything until my face looks like that, until I'm middle-aged or older. I did visit the iUniverse offices once when they were headquartered in Nebraska back around 2004, 2005, 2006, somewhere around in there, and they don't remember me. They had other, writers there that were more important to them, and they had a very important guest they were expecting that day. I was not really on their official appointment list or anything. But maybe this thing has the problem a little that Adolf Hitler had when he tried to work as an artist, although maybe it does not. That artist rendering, it looks a little green and grayish here on my phone. That artist rendering, well, first of all, it's not real clear what it is, But the good part of it is that they did put a person on there. It's always important in artwork and pictures and photographs to, we were always taught newspaper journalism to try to have people in them. That one does look to me like a photograph. Maybe they touched it up. That's a fast way of doing it, probably inexpensive. Anyway, the reason I was looking at that is possibly the sheriff, but is also possibly Morehouse. They're the two middle-aged characters in this plot. I would say, is the sheriff the most important person in your plot? I don't know. I'm not able to answer that. To my way of thinking, the two reporters who are investigating the case are probably the most what this story is about. But there are approximately half a dozen characters who are working on this homicide case. And the sheriff is one of them, the two reporters. That also might be Morehouse. So that's why I was selecting Morehouse here for part 21. I'll see if I can find any page now. I've digressed so much. That's the thing. When you're talking about your books in public, you don't want to reveal too closely what's in them. So it's always good if you're full of shit, but you don't actually say anything, because then you don't give away what the story is about. Yet you pretty easily fill up the time. Here's page 36, has Morehouse on it. Let me see if I can find the one in your camera there. There it says Morehouse there. He is a middle-aged resort owner who stumbles onto who's near the scene of a homicide that was unknown to him. And he's not a serious suspect. He is involved in the case somewhat. So, I'd say about 5 years, answered Doug, his father, smiling. He turned toward Morehouse. Doug's short reddish-brown hair and neatly trimmed goatee gave him a business-like appearance. In addition to the model hotel lodge, something else, the grounds possibly, looks a little different. Considering the amount of money you've sunk into the place, it looks good. But I see you've maintained the original atmosphere. In other words, it seems the same, yet improved. So he's talking, Doug is a friend who's visiting Morehouse. Again, he's one of the characters who inadvertently gets wrapped up in this homicide case. Morehouse is a local resort owner with a checkered past who probably, I believe I say in here, he has a prison record, but now he owns a business to get out of it, because so many businesses, won't hire you if you have an obvious problems with your credentials. So anyway, Morehouse quote here on page 36, I'm glad you feel that way, but you say you can't put your finger on the upgrades. In the photographs I mailed you, didn't you notice the other new buildings, the storage and equipment sheds, for instance? Asked Morehouse with a sense of anticipation in his voice. And then it goes on, these characters, Doug is a friend of Morehouse, is visiting him this summer. Happens to be summertime here, by the way. As you can see on Milwaukee's lakefront, Summerfest is over with now, by the way, and they're looking forward to the start of the NFL preseason with the Packers in about a month. So Morehouse is a way of describing some of the plot here without giving away anything, because but I have these characters divided up in here. Let me see if I can find something else with Morehouse on it so I can say I followed my own. Here's again something in italics, as long as I'm doing Morehouse. This I have man held in apparent homicide. I put it in italics. It's a news story that I put on page 51. It's about the murder case. So that way, if years go by where I haven't read the book myself, even though I wrote it, I can just read a few paragraphs out of there and remember what the plot was about. Here it is. A 25-year-old Milwaukee man was taken into custody in connection with an apparent homicide early Saturday morning in the death of Jean Kirchner, a tourist from Milwaukee staying at the Bayview Resort, after her body was found in the Wabika National Forest by the resort owner and a passing truck driver on Highway 46. Well, I'm at TikTok's 10-minute deadline here. I'm going to stop on this part here.